It's time for QB1 with Crissy Froyd. And Crissy, the topic today, Mr. Irrelevant, Brock Purdy to the 49ers, the very last pick in the draft. How much interest is there around Brock Purdy?
Yeah, I think that he is kind of a name that a lot of people had written off this year. So if you look at season before last, there were a lot of people that were like, hey, maybe this could be one of the best quarterbacks in the nation. This is a quarterback that could even vie for a Heisman. Then he had a very volatile season, a lot of issues with pocket awareness and then decision making overall. And then last year, I thought that he made really big strides in both of those areas, had an extremely high completion percentage. And that's not just numbers talking. I thought that Brock Purdy made a lot of strides just as a player. I think that he has some of the best lower body mechanics really in college football last year, which kind of attributed to that accuracy and then that increase overall. So I think that he's a player that a lot of people weren't expecting to see drafted at all. I think that they were kind of expecting to see him be signed by a team as a free agent and then maybe hang around for just a little while. So it was really exciting to see somebody kind of see something in him.
How does he factor into the current situation for the 49ers at the quarterback position?
Yeah, well, I think he's kind of a guy who's either going to be a third string or a long-term backup. He does have some cleaning up to do. He's more of a developmental prospect, but I think that he's someone who can make a push to at least remain on the practice squad this year. And then depending on how the situation unfolds at starter, who's still there, maybe someone who could eventually slide in and become a reliable backup in the long term, just later down the line.
You spent a lot of time talking to Brock Purdy. I mean, getting to know him pretty well. What is your sense of who he is and what he can ultimately offer in the league?
Yeah, he's humble. He's a hard worker and he doesn't make excuses. I mean, we had talked about his meetings with teams and how they would sit him down and they would talk about kind of who he was as a person, what he brings to the table, what they're looking to do, but they would also pull up some plays and be like, hey, what went wrong on this? Why'd you make this decision? And he told me that he would just call it like he saw it. He'd say what he saw and what he did wrong and kind of own up to it. And then just work from there to try to get better in that aspect. So I think a team is getting a very honest person and someone who wants to grow, who wants to get better, that's going to waste no time kind of taking the blame for things that are his fault and then going out in the field and doing everything he can to correct it.
And what do you think his ceiling is?
Yeah, I don't think that he's ever going to be a starter for a team. I think that that's really a long shot. I mean, we have these fairy tale stories from time to time where there'll be players that are drafted super late or that everyone was doubting that'll make this big, huge jump. But then the reality of it is even if he does have that potential, even if he has overhauled some of these issues, is just when a quarterback's drafted that late and he goes into a situation where he's not viewed as someone who could eventually be a starter, just the odds and the way that NFL situations shake out, it's hard to happen into a situation where that could even be a possibility. So I think his ceiling is a very reliable long-term backup, whether that's for the 49ers or elsewhere. I think there's a lot to like, but there, like I said, the decision-making and stuff like that has just got to get better. And so I think that really it's going to come down to him continuing to show that in camp and then also continuing to show that he can indeed throw the deep ball, which was something that was kind of a knock on him that I thought he dispelled a little bit in pro day.
QB1 with Crissy Froyd. Crissy, thanks.